welcome you on a sunny, beautiful June morning. First, I want to thank the New Hampshire Electric Co-op. As I think you know, they are subsidizing Eggs and Issues this year, and we greatly appreciate their financial support. And the Chamber of Commerce is paying the business sponsor fee today, and I have the profound pleasure to introduce Janice, who will just interact with us for a little while.
What a way to introduce me. Someone must know me very well. I don't need this, though. Oh, sorry.
You do need it.
I do need it. Okay. Good morning, TV audience. Well, I'm very, very happy to be here to sponsor this particular Eggs and Issues. DRED is a very important state office for both the Economic Council and the Chamber of Commerce. As you all know, part of that office is the Department of Travel and Tourism, which I work with a great deal. We have just completed our strategic plan, just as the Economic Council has completed theirs. Something that we've all known, and I'm sure you all know it as well, but you know, the aha moment struck us all that we all knew that the Chamber was responsible for tourism marketing and bringing people into the valley. We just never gave it a name, but we truly are the Destination Marketing Organization, or the DMO, so you'll be hearing that a lot, for the Mount Washington Valley region. And we partner with the Economic Council on other projects that we may be helpful with, but the Economic Council, as you all know, is very well versed at trying to diversify the economy a little bit, even it out between tourism and maybe manufacturing or light manufacturing, technology, and that sort of thing, so that we can bring in more great jobs and raise the quality of life for the people who move into town. So we create a great partnership, and we enjoy that very much. And if you have tourism issues or a desire to interface with the tourism market, with the over 2 million visitors that come into this valley, then you need to come see the Chamber. And I think most of the folks that are here in the room are members of the Chamber. We have 800 members, and we're doing very well, and we're very thankful to our members for that. So enjoy the presentation, and I'll turn it over to you. Carefully, listen carefully, because someone will get this prize when you finish, but you have to listen carefully.
Now, listen to you carefully, or listen to me? Oh, okay. Just trying to see if how I can get in on the prize action. So.
Well, you probably could win.
Yes, right. I'll listen carefully.
Yes, listen very carefully.
Well, good morning. My name's Jeff Rose, and I am the new commissioner of the Department of Resources and Economic Development, and it's really a pleasure to be here with you today. And I appreciate, Janice, your sponsorship of the event, and look forward to having a conversation with you. And I'll provide a little bit of background and how I've got to stand here before you today, give you a little bit of perspective on the agency in total, because it's a pretty unique and diverse agency. Give you a little bit of insight into some of my priorities and where I'm looking to try to take the agency, and then maybe some observations. But I really want to make sure that it's interactive and that you have the opportunity to ask questions. So I'll leave a lot of time for Q&A, but also if there's something I touch that you have a question, don't hesitate to throw up your hand. I'm happy to to try to dive down into it right at that moment in time. But it's really fun being here today. It was funny when we drove in. Bino and I, and I'm sure most of you probably have know Bino LaMontagne, who works at the Department of Resources and Economic Development as well, within our Economic Development Department, and he's our North Country representative and does a great job on behalf of the agency. But we drove in here this morning, and I kind of smiled, and I was like, I remember walking this land before, when this was just an idea about trying to create the tech village here, back in the day. And I guess I'll give you a little bit of perspective. So I grew up in New Hampshire. I'm a New Hampshire guy. I grew up in Merrimack, New Hampshire. and been in New Hampshire since I was 3. I know that you can't take native status or anything along those lines. Very particular here about that, but I'm a New Hampshire guy through and through, and just thoroughly love the state. Went away to college, but came back here and worked for various members of Congress. And so I worked for John Sununu when he was a member of Congress. I worked for Bob Smith when he was in the Senate, and then I worked for Jeb Bradley. So I worked in total for 4 different members over 8 years, but 7 of those 8 years were here in New Hampshire. The first member I worked for was in New Jersey, but it didn't take me long to realize that my heart was in the Granite State, not the Garden State, and so quickly came back home to New Hampshire. So in my tenure working for members of Congress, I got to spend quite a bit of time up here. In fact, when I worked for John Sununu, it was kind of ironic because I still recall the day when I hear the word ice storm. I think 98. I don't think 2007. I think 98. And in fact, the morning of the ice storm, John Sununu was driving up here for Eggs and Issues, driving up to North Conway. And I remember the driver at the time, calling that morning. He's like, "You are not going to believe how bad the roads are. It's like, it's unbelievable, the damage that's out here and stuff." So I actually cut my teeth on a lot of forestry and natural resource issues working for John Sununu back in the 98 ice storm, and worked very closely with the Department of Resources and Economic Development, the Forest and Lands Division, during that time, and working closely with the White Mountain National Forest on some of the impacts and trying to mitigate some of the impacts of that really dramatic elevational storm. And we still see the impacts of that today out in the forest. And then working on issues like the Conway bypass, boy, that was a handful. But working on those issues, and then when I was in Senator Smith's office, we did a lot of the water and wastewater projects here in the town, and working on the widening of 16. But that was really where we did a lot, working with Jack in the Tech Village, and sort of helping develop this concept. And so it's really kind of fun to be here and see things kind of in a full circle capacity, and to see where things are today, and still all the potential that lies ahead of where things can be tomorrow. And then I also worked for Jeb Bradley. We did quite a bit of work up here as well. Jeb is a huge fan of the region, loves the whites, and I recall spending some time up here, whether it was working on the Welcome Center that's up here and trying to help with some transportation enhancement funding there, or the Superfund site around the corner. It's there's a lot of projects here that it's fun to be back and to see them in kind of a whole new capacity. But even more than that, on a personal side, it's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite part of the state. Some of my best days and some of my best memories are being up in the North Conway area. I think my favorite mountain biking area is off of Bear Notch Road. Some great track through there. Had a lot of fun with my family, whether it was going to Storyland when I was younger, or now bringing my daughter up there. But the other element is I actually got married here. I love it so much. I got married at Our Lady of the Mountains back when it was still on its old site there, before they moved to their new building, and had my wedding reception at the Stonehurst Manor. So not only is it had a lot of history from a professional perspective, it's a very personal environment and a personal choice for me to spend as much time as I can up here in the Mount Washington Valley area. It's just such a beautiful part of the state, and the opportunity to try to be not only an effective advocate from an economic development perspective, but also to be a responsible steward, recognizing the natural beauty and the natural heritage that we have and the connectivity that we have to our special landscape is really something that I'm really excited about. And I was just honored when the governor asked me to serve in this role. And I'd spent the last 9 years, after I worked for members of Congress, I spent the last 9 years working at a company called BAE Systems in Nashua, New Hampshire. And I don't know how familiar you are with BAE Systems, but it's the largest manufacturer in the state, about 4,600 jobs here in New Hampshire, one of the largest defense aerospace companies in the world, with about 46,000 employees in the U.S., about 95,000 employees worldwide, and I was doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. I grew up, I was a political science and a communications major, and I was doing exactly that. I was doing public affairs, communications, government relations type of work for what I thought to be the best company in the state, doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. And when the governor said, "Would you like to serve the state of New Hampshire?" it took me about 2 seconds to say yes. I just, again, as I mentioned, the idea of being able to serve and to hopefully be an effective advocate is something that I was just, honored and thrilled to do, and couldn't be more excited about this opportunity. I have been in the role now for about just over 2 months. In fact, I was sworn in on April 1st. That's not funny. That's not. No joke. I got sworn in on April 1st. But more importantly to that is it's not that funny.
Jeff, Will became the director of the Mental Health Center on April 1st.
See? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I totally get it.
Yeah. But more appropriately for me is I'm a huge sports fan. And so not only was it an appropriate day that you won't forget because it was April 1st, but it was also opening day for Major League Baseball. And I'm a huge baseball fan. In fact, I played college baseball, and it's a passion that I have is baseball. And there's something about opening day and the enthusiasm and the excitement and the renewal and the potential that what lies ahead is kind of why I think people get really geared up for opening day. And it was with that same spirit and enthusiasm and opportunity that I took this position. And so I thought it was really appropriate for me to get sworn in on opening day, much more so than April Fool's Day. But so it was great. It was my own little opening day, if you will. So I had fun with that, and it was a very small ceremony with when the governor swore me in. I had maybe about 8 or 10 people there that kind of played real kind of instrumental roles in my professional career up to that point. Either working directly with them or people that I kind of looked up to as mentors and really key teammates in my career up to that point. And then I had my directors at DRED that were there as well. And I kind of looked at it as, I had my teammates that got me to this point, and then my new teammates that we were going to work together moving forward. So it was a really nice, small ceremony, but it was a very meaningful one for me. And so it was great to kind of have my new teammates in place. And I've had a great time getting to know my team, get to work with my new teammates, and that's the way that I approach this, that we're collectively all working together in order to try to provide the best services that we can back to the state of New Hampshire and the people of the state. And so I'm thrilled to be sort of the captain of the team, if you will, but it's a collective effort, and we have some wonderful people within the agency. So I'm really thrilled about that opportunity and getting to know them and getting to work with them in a closer role. And I think that the thing that I really enjoy about working for the Department of Resources and Economic Development is just the sheer diversity to the agency. It's got 4 very distinct divisions. So you have, as was referenced, Janice referenced earlier, the travel and tourism is one division. You have forest and lands, which is another distinct division. You have parks and recreation, which has all of our state parks and recreation sites, historical sites. And then you have, economic development. So you have all 4 of those different divisions. So the diversity to the day and to the agency is just fantastic. I mean, you can go from working and talking on the phone with the CEO of a company that you're trying to help or to relocate here, to then staring at a bug in the forest. It's just the diversity to it is just fantastic. And I'll just take a minute to touch on each of the 4 divisions. So travel and tourism, obviously, critical segment of our state's economy. It's the second largest segment of our state's economy, and it's certainly very, very critical to the Mount Washington Valley area. And so we have a really, we have a very aggressive campaign right now. Hopefully you're familiar with it. It's the Live Free and campaign that we have in place, which I really love the diversity to that campaign. I think it works really well because you can plug and play wherever you need to try to make it fit. And it's a very you can personalize it to whatever it is. Live free and hike, live free and swim, live free and fish, live free and shop, whatever you might like from a travel and tourism perspective, and you can socialize it to whatever that particular audience is. So we've been working hard on that. This is the second year of that campaign, and I think we're sort of stepping up that effort. And again, it's really a critical part of our state's economy. We have about 35 million visitors that come to New Hampshire every single year, and the number of jobs, I think it's like 61,000 jobs are directly related to the travel and tourism industry. And again, it's also, the rooms and meals tax is also one of the largest drivers and providers for our state's budget. So it's really a critical component to the overall health and well-being of the agency and of the state. And I'm sure most of you are probably familiar, but just in case you're not, one of the other areas that we work with a lot of local chambers and organizations is through a program that's called the Joint Promotional Program, the JPP program. And that is really important because it is a cost share program where the local organization submits in an application, but then we try to help promote the state and help promote that particular attraction. And I know we've had a few of them up in this region, and it's a critical way of trying to help share the word about why New Hampshire is such a spectacular place to travel to vacation, to spend time with your family, to spend time and hopefully do business as well. So it's really an important program that's run through the Travel and Tourism Department. And if you're not familiar with it, you should look at it, because I also want to make sure that it is as streamlined and as effective as it can be to try to help make sure that people don't find the process a barrier for wanting to participate in the program. Because again, it's the way that we share the secret about why New Hampshire is such a special place. And then the other element within just the Travel and Tourism Division is we have the Welcome Centers. And I didn't expect that to be I didn't realize that we had the Welcome Centers with the Department of Resources and Economic Development when I first was looking into the agency. But we also have the Welcome Centers, and we utilize that at strategic points to try to promote the state from a travel and tourism perspective, to share with them the different opportunities that they can enjoy in the region, get them some information, and hopefully provide them a positive interface in exchange when they come and visit and stop at one of our Welcome Centers. So I think there's still room for improvement with some of those. They're still owned by Department of Transportation, and Commissioner Clement and I have been talking quite a bit about ways to try to make sure that the Welcome Centers are indicative of the experience that we want New Hampshire residents and or guests to have when they stop at one of these centers. The first objective shouldn't be how quickly can I get out of here. It should be oh, what a great place. Oh, I didn't realize this. Or oh, what a great opportunity. Maybe I'll go try that or check that part of the state out through some of the different promotional materials that we have at the Welcome Centers. So that's a little bit of the travel and tourism piece. The Forest and Lands is, as I referenced, I spent a lot of time when I was working for members of Congress on natural resource issues, and which was great. I really enjoyed that. Again, whether it was with then Congressman Sununu, then Senator Sununu, and Congressman Bradley and their love of the White Mountains, or working with Bob Smith, who had the chairmanship of the Environment and Public Works Committee, and trying to work and leverage the benefits of that committee for the betterment of the state. But I got a good opportunity to work with the Forest and Lands group during that tenure on the natural resources side, and it's such an important part of our state. Again, the forestry industry and forestry products side is a really important industry within our state. It's really kind of one of the founding industries of our state, and continues to be such an important driver of our state's economy. But we are the second most forested state in the country. I think it's 84% of our land is forested, and 76% of that land is privately owned. So while we have the whites and we have the 450, well, we have a little over 200,000 acres, about 200,000 acres that DRED actively actually owns, and then we have about a little over 200,000 acres that we manage through easements and such as well. But the importance of sustainable forestry and good forestry practices is really important. And whether it's working with the cooperative extension, the UNH cooperative extension, or working with the forest rangers on enforcement and managing of the timber sales, or just trying to help promote good, healthy, sustainable forestry is really important. Programs like the Land and Water Conservation Fund or the Forest Legacy Fund have really done some great things for the state in helping to preserve and to protect some of our natural resources. And so it's also funny, when I assumed this position, I didn't anticipate my first press conference being on the emerald ash borer, which is an invasive species that's been detected in Concord that has the potential to really devastate our ash trees in the state. But you learn pretty quick, when you have such an important resource like our natural resources and our forestry industry. So we have a great team in our Forest and Lands Division, and but it's also got one of those impacts throughout the state, and so it's been it's a really important department within the agency. And then when you think about when you think about this region, or really even anywhere around the state, our state parks are just such a gem that we have here, and such spectacular places. Even just driving up here this morning, I couldn't help but smile when driving by White Lake State Park and thinking about camping there when I was younger and having fun at some of our state parks. And so we have 92 state parks and campgrounds and beaches and historical sites throughout the state as well. And so that's another one of the divisions. And we also manage all the recreational trails that we have. So whether it's snowmobiling trails or ATVing trails, which has been a growing industry within the state as well, that all falls under the Parks and Rec department. And so it's really fantastic to think of the diversity even within that one division within the agency. The commitment and the passion that people have around Cannon Mountain, say, is remarkable. I mean, it's even just Franconia and Arch State Park is like 4 different parks within one. That it's just such a special spot within the state. And then you have top of Mount Washington and Hampton Beach and Weeks State Park, and you have all these just wonderful, wonderful places that people have such a connection to within our state parks division. And we have, again, over 6 million visitors to our state parks and natural areas and historic sites throughout the state. So it's really, again, a critical component of our overall state's economy, and again, one of the really important divisions. And then, economic development. So, and that is everything from job retention, because you want to make sure that the employers that you have the skills and have the resources that they need to try to be successful, to job recruitment, trying to incentivize and talk to other businesses about why they should relocate and consider expanding here in the state of New Hampshire. Our job training programs that we have our broadband efforts within economic development. We have our international trade efforts within economic development, and we have marketing as well. So, and then we have our Workforce Opportunity Council, which helps workers who are displaced or trying to get new skills so they can re-enter back into the workforce. So it's a real diverse division within the department as well, but it's really another critical division within the agency. So all 4 of those distinct divisions kind of all equal up to what I think makes the agency so special, because I think those four things working collectively help create the quality of life that we all enjoy here in New Hampshire. And I think, you know, it's not by accident that you have these four very distinct divisions collectively working together under one roof. And a lot of people say to me, like, well, isn't that kind of a inherent conflict and tension between economic development and natural resources? And, you know, I see where people are coming from. It's very unique. I'm not sure if there's any other states that have anything quite like that. But the importance and the synergy between those four divisions and yielding out the positive experience that we have here in the state, I think, is second to none. And that's, again, why I'm really excited about this opportunity, because I look at it as, you know, we're trying to preserve and protect and promote the quality of life that we all enjoy here and what makes New Hampshire so special. So I think, so it's a really cool agency, and I'm having a blast working with the new team. You know, it's as I mentioned, it's been 2 weeks in, and, you know, so I've been, you know, making some observations, but I'll just take a moment to dive down just a little bit more on the economic development side, because I think that is, you know, really important, and particularly, you know, with this Eggs and Issues series and being where we are today. You know, there's no state where having a healthy business environment is more important than in New Hampshire. And I say that because 24% of our state's resources and our state's budget is from the business enterprise tax and the business profits tax. So if we do not maintain a healthy business environment, the whole tax structure, by which I think is so key to our, you know, distinct advantages and quality of life, has the potential to crumble. So it's really important that we preserve that healthy business environment. And 96% of the businesses in the state are small businesses. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can from a state perspective to try to maintain a healthy backdrop for small businesses in New Hampshire. In businesses in general, but in particularly small businesses. And so I think that's one of the real important responsibilities that we have within state government, is recognizing that very fragile balance and making sure that we promote a healthy backdrop for businesses. You know, it's not about trying to always, you know, the private sector and the businesses, you know, your job is to grow your top line. But at the state, we want to try to help make sure that we can have an environment in which you can, you know, protect your bottom line. And so I think that's kind of one of the most important things that we have to do, is make sure that we recognize the importance of our business backdrop and our business environment, and the importance that it provides in terms of our overall state's economy and the whole New Hampshire experience in terms of the unique quality of life that we have and enjoyment of having a no income tax, no sales tax environment. So it's really important. And I'm pleased that you have facilities like this at the Tech Village that have the ability to embrace and pull in the different legs of the stool that are necessary for businesses to try to get out and try to expand and try to embrace that entrepreneurial spirit, because that's really where you're going to get a lot of that next generation of technology and that next business that comes here. And so having a place like an incubator to have that infrastructure and support network in place, but recognizing the key components and the role of having an educational component and partner as part of that is so important. Having that skilled workforce is the first and foremost thing that any business is going to be looking for when they're looking to see where they're going to invest their resources and where they want to be doing business. So that's absolutely critical. So, and then trying to have a location by which they can graduate to, and then, you know, have their operations in their manufacturing facility or their business facility is so important. So I think, you know, this is a great example of, you know, where you can have that incubator space where somebody can try their creative idea and take that risk, but then have that support from an educational piece, and then hopefully graduate to be into a business office and a business location, and sort of promoting that entrepreneurial spirit around the state. We have a lot of different incubators that are growing, whether it's the one in Plymouth or in Manchester, out in Keene. We have really a lot of exciting things out in the Dartmouth area and out over by the University of New Hampshire out in Durham. So I mean, that's where you're going to see a lot of that value add into your economy, is by creating that next generation of capability. And so that's one of the other things that I'm really pleased with with Governor Hassan and the legislature, that the very first piece of legislation, SB 1, was the doubling of the research and development tax credit. And I mean, that I think sends a real strong signal in terms of trying to incentivize the right behavior, to try to encourage people to take that risk and to try to make that investment into research and development, because that next generation of capability and that next generation of doing something with faster, cheaper, in a more productive fashion is really, again, how you sort of add that value back to the economy. So I think it's really important, and I'm really happy that I think we have that really positive business environment. We recently received an A+ rating for being able to for starting a small business. And that was, we were, I think, the number 2 in the nation. I think Wyoming might have been 1, but for the best state to start a small business. And so again, I think that's really important when you look at the backdrop that we have in terms of the importance of small businesses and the importance of having a healthy business environment here in the state of New Hampshire. So I think that's going to be really important. But when you look at the overall budget, which, by the way, is being voted on today in the Senate, so it's kind of a busy day, big day, trying to figure out what the budget's going to look like and how that's going to impact not just the agency of Department of Resources and Economic Development, but the overall state. And so, there's a lot of things, though, within the budget that I think right now are well positioned for our agency to be successful. And I think part of that goes to Governor Hassan, who, when she campaigned, was campaigning on trying to promote an innovative economy and recognizing the importance that has for our overall state. And she backed that up within her budget, and recognizing that DRED's success is very much a key point of her vision of that innovative economy. And so she did some very important things. So as I mentioned, the R&D tax credit, but one of the other things that she did that was really important is I was talking about the travel and tourism piece in the JPP program, the Joint Promotional Program. That is linked to the rooms and meals tax. So 3.15% of the rooms and meals tax that comes into the state goes to travel and tourism. And so that formula got a little bit bumped up through the last budget cycle, and so she restored that funding for travel and tourism, which was great. She also she funded the position of the director for the Economic Development Division. It got actually defunded in the last legislature, which I thought was really kind of a head scratcher when you think about, again, the importance of the business environment that we have and the importance of that division. And the legislature, for some reason, felt as though that they would not only cut that department, they actually would defund the director's position. So restoring that position and getting that back in order is really, really important. She also reinvested some funds into our International Trade Resource Center, which, when you talk about ways of trying to grow your economy and trying to reach new markets and new customers, the world is a pretty big place. So having an international trade center that's capable of trying to help the businesses in the state is really, really important. So she's restored some of the funding for the International Trade Center, allowed for some travel out of state and some trade missions, so we can get that back in order. Our trade numbers dropped a bit last year. They are up this year, which is a good sign. But I think that's another critical investment that she's making into the department. So there's a lot of things like that I think are going in a positive direction. We'll see how they all unfold over the course of the day, and then you have to go to the committee conference and see how that will unfold. But there's still time left on the clock, so we can't. So we have to stay stay very engaged in trying to make sure that we get that over the line. But so the governor's made a lot of investments into the agency, and I think things are moving in a very positive direction right now. So I look forward to getting through that budget process. And then I think some of my priorities after that are really going to fall with trying to get the economic development director position back in place. So once we get, assuming that we're fortunate enough to get that funding through, try to get the right person in place, and then really try to do a lot of external sessions with key stakeholders. So I want to make sure that we are providing the services that are needed to the business community in a way that has helped meeting their needs. So what are we doing well, but where are there opportunities for us to do things differently or to help you make sure that we're aligned with what your needs are. And so that's going to be over the next few months, over the course of the summer. I want to be doing a lot of listening sessions, getting a lot of feedback, a lot of inputs from different stakeholders as to where and how we can be doing things either better or where we need to continue to make strategic investments. And then sort of take that feedback and then evaluate where are we trying to go? What's our roadmap going to be? Where are our strengths and where are things that we want to try to put strategic emphasis in so we can try to grow our economy within certain areas. So for example, one thing that we're looking at right now is we've developed a defense and aerospace consortium, and we got a federal grant to try to help do that. So we're bringing together a lot of small and medium-sized defense and aerospace companies and working with them, getting them the training that they need to try to do work with the federal government, try to get them the resources that they need and the training that they need to help with understanding the different regulations and ITAR impacts and trying to give them exposure to new markets and collectively trying to promote New Hampshire as a cluster for these types of companies. And we have some good things going on down in the Seacoast right now with Albany and Saffron, and working with them and having them bring in some of the suppliers that they work with and some of the next generation technologies that they're rolling out for some of the different jet engines, or even companies like BAE Systems, again, who is such a massive company within the state, but the number of suppliers and the small businesses that they have is astronomical. Just at BAE Systems had over 500 suppliers in the state with other businesses. So if you can bring in and sort of market yourself as a cluster for these types of companies, more of them are going to want to come. So trying to find opportunities to leverage. And so we also work with our PTAC team, our Procurement Technical Assistance team, to try to help with that as well, and trying to bring these different companies together and build these clusters. And again, a lot of that has to do with that educational piece and the importance that provides, and working with our community colleges to try to make sure that they have the skilled workforce that they need in order to make sure that they can meet the needs of their customers. So I can't underestimate the importance of that education component when you talk about economic development. So once we get that in place, we kind of get the economic development director in place, and then and really try to map out where we want to make some of our strategic targets in terms of companies that we want to try to recruit, but also ways that we want to try to realign our agency to help meet the needs of the business. So those are a couple of the areas of focus that I have, we'll say, over the next 6 months in this role. And I guess I'll just close on a few observations so far in my first 2 months. And again, I think it really starts with how great the people are that work within the agency. And I was thinking about it a little bit, that a lot of that comes from the fact that based on the 4 divisions that I referenced, I mean, you don't become a forest ranger unless you love being in the forest. You don't become a park ranger or park manager unless you love being in the parks and being on the land. Or you don't become, economic development retention specialist unless you care about the state's economy. It's just a way of the commitment and the passion that the people have that are within the agency is fantastic. And I'm really, really enjoying working with my new teammates. And so I think, I think collectively there's a lot of opportunity that lies ahead. I think New Hampshire's well positioned. I think this region, is well positioned. Just some fantastic, core industry, but also such spectacular natural resources to draw from and such. So I'm having a great time. I say every day is incredibly exciting, exhilarating, and exhausting all at once. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really, again, honored that the governor asked me to serve in this role, and really excited about the opportunity that lies ahead. So I appreciate your time, and really look forward to some of your questions here now. Thank you.
It's interesting. I was picking up on the fact that you're saying that you're dealing with the combination of economic development and natural resources.
Yes.
So it's sort of as though a new economy has arrived, and it has a conscience. And that's why I think a lot of our efforts in any groups who are dealing with strategic planning or whatever, we're trying to think of what can we hope to have to help the economy, but in fact will not impact negatively the environment, which I hear you're doing as well.
Good question.
And you mentioned a few times about education, and we have talked here at the council in our strategic planning. One thought that we had was, and I mentioned it to a couple of you this morning actually, is thinking about having this area become known over time as a center for technical education. In the same way as an example, I said, like for instance, biotech, biomed stuff is North Carolina, and cars are there, and culinary schools in New York, and whatever. When one is thinking that's what we need to do, and I had seen on TV or something that some of the needs of the companies that are the technical major players that we hear of and we know of, they have specific needs of what kind of training, that really in-depth technical training, and that it's difficult to have people to do that. So if we here, or you as the person for the state, were able to help us do something like have a center for the training, it would do a couple of things. It would retain people who studied here. It would allow the manufacturers or the companies that need those workers to kind of think, oh, check New Hampshire, they've got it, that's where you go. And I just am thinking on a multitude of levels, it might be something to work with. And that led me to think, what happens when a company calls you and says, we're thinking of New Hampshire? What do you then do? Because we feel, I think, sometimes that we're not being looked at so much in this central part, because so much is happening in the south, but not here. And so that's my loaded question.
Sure. So you touched on a few different things. And I really appreciate the question about the job training component of it, because I didn't really do that justice. And so we do have a job training program within the Economic Development Division. And in fact, it's about 60 some odd, well, we have it broken out, but last I saw was we had about 64 businesses, I think was the number, that had received job training funds from our Workforce Opportunity Council over the last 5 or 6 years. And that works much like the JPP program, is kind of a cost share. Same thing with the job training. Usually you submit in an application. It can be anywhere from a couple $1,000s all the way up to $100,000. And it's usually a joint split between the company and the Workforce Opportunity Council to try to help provide job training funds. So that's a way of trying to help make sure that the businesses that are here do have the ability to help make sure that their employees have the skills necessary that they need to be successful. In terms of trying to promote something as a regional center of excellence, I think there's benefits to that. I think that's one of those where I think I wouldn't look to the state to say, well, what should that be? I would look to you and say, well, what is it that you want to be? And where can we try to help you and help you either market it or reach different markets or do some analysis or research or try to put you in touch with some of the right people. But I really think that's kind of for the local communities to evaluate where and what they want to be, and if they want to promote themselves as that regional training or center of excellence, that's great, and we can try to help find ways where we can promote that, or try to find different resource points where we can try to be of assistance on that. Because again, that education piece is so important. One of the first things a business would say is when they do call is, what's the labor force? What are the skills? What's the availability? What's the accessibility? What's the cost? These are the things that they're going to be thinking about. What's the available real estate? What's the market conditions like? What's the infrastructure like? Those are the kind of questions that they care about. And so, we do not necessarily steer. We wouldn't. We don't. That's not what we're in the business of. But we're in the business of being that conduit, that advocate, that promoter of what the resources are that we have within the state. And so, depending on what their needs are, is where they'll end up. Depending on where they're trying to centralize and where they're trying to focus their efforts, is usually how we'll go and provide them that information. We don't necessarily steer, but there are certain characteristics that some places might look for. So, for instance, right now, there's been some activity north of the border in Canada where businesses will want to come into the U.S. marketplace, but they don't want to be very far from their home base as well. So they might be looking at Coos County or Upper Carroll County or Grafton County, and so that might be the parameters that they're looking for, and what's available for space, and what type of infrastructure they need with water and sewer and labor and stuff along those lines. So those are all things that they care about. One of the other things that's really a positive, particularly that I've discovered is since the last 10 or 12 years since I've really been focused in on some of these issues from a federal perspective, is how far the state has come with our broadband capabilities. And the fact that it's 88% of our state right now actually has broadband coverage, which is actually one of the better numbers in the country. And so I was up in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, and they were promoting broadband in the cabins up in Pittsburgh, and I was like, holy smokes, that's amazing. I never would have thought that would have been the case 10, 15 years ago. So the emphasis and the infrastructure that we've developed now, I think, is really important. I think that's a real important barrier in terms of trying to utilize technology in a way that allows people that have the ability to really work anywhere. And so trying to promote the unique characteristics that you have of that area is important. I kind of look at it, like my own personal mentality is, I have to be on my computer, and I want to be in my kayak. How can I make that happen? And you can do that, if you have the infrastructure in place through technology, and you have the spectacular natural resources that you have here. So there's ways of trying to find opportunities to promote yourself in a way that's going to be attractive to sort of entrepreneurs or people that are looking to try to figure out where they want to do a business, because we have so many unique attributes and characteristics here that you can't recreate. And so technology is a real equalizer in that scenario. Yeah, John.
Jeff, one of the things that I'm puzzled about, and I don't know how we can go about and make changes or even suggest changes, but one of the things, or a couple of the points that you made out, we have 35 million visitors.
Yes, through travel and tourism, yep.
Yeah, and we have, how many, what was the percentage of state park?
We have about 6 million people that visit our state parks in a year.
In all the economic magazines and travel guides and so on and so forth, you always see states advertising why you should move your business to that area or location. And I understand that the New Hampshire legislature doesn't necessarily have a mindset of putting a lot of money into marketing, recruitment, and economic development. That's just, that's the truth of the matter. Their focus is on travel and tourism, and rightfully so, because it's probably the leading engine that drives the state. However,
I'll just correct you with one thing, though. So while travel and tourism is the second largest industry in our state, our largest industry is still manufacturing, and by a large fold. So so I think your point is going to be a good one, but I'm sorry.
Where I'm going with this
Yeah.
is that if we have access to all these visitors and all these visitors to state parks and stuff, and small businesses is our bread and butter. How can we get the legislature, or how can we change legislation so that in your department, which has a cross-section of 4 areas, we can't have a marriage there where the marketing isn't just solely come to visit our state park, or you know, why can't there be the co-op kiosks that also have, this is a great place if you want to move your business here. What do we need to do to make, you have a captive audience. We don't have to spend billions of dollars in magazine articles to get people to look at the possibility here. And that's one of the things that we're struggling here with, is that perception is that this is a great place to come and visit and have fun and enjoy the natural resources. But the thought process of saying, well, I could probably move my business here because the infrastructure is here. So I guess that's the question. How can your department, or how can DRED just look at the overall picture and have more of a marriage of the marketing aspect, so that at every opportunity that we have that person hitting us, they have the idea and the concept that they have the business.
Yeah, so it's a great question, it's a great thought, and I think you're right. And the legislature actually, I think, recognized part of that when they asked DRED to be the, we'll just say the host, or the interface at the welcome centers. And that was part of the thought there, is as people are coming to the state or stopping at the state for at these locations for various reasons, to find ways of trying to promote and trying to provide them opportunities in some that positive interface. However, we don't, you know, and this isn't necessarily a complaint, it's just more of a reality, is that we're limited by, you know, the resources that you have. So we have, but we do need to find a better way of leveraging that captive audience. So right now, we have, within our economic development, we have a very, 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 very modest marketing budget. Very modest. And so, but trying to leverage that and build off of that travel and tourism campaign of live free and do business. Live free and start a business. You know, live free and, you know, whatever it might be. But, you know, try to leverage that. So we're now working on trying to do just that. We're working with the airport as well in terms of trying to find ways of promoting, you know, those people who come into the state and providing, you know, opportunities and exposures as to, you know, why you should do business in the state. You know, not only do we have a highly skilled workforce, not only do we have a low individual tax state, not only do we have an A+ rating for trying to start a business, you know, we also have an extraordinarily accountable structure of government that is very unique and distinct to New Hampshire, that no other state can lay claim to. In fact, I always like to tell the story about, you know, at BA Systems, you know, I was, you know, working on an issue, and there's a labor bill that was before us, and our legal counsel was just kind of scratching their head saying, boy, I'm not sure about this one. I don't know, we might have some issues with this. And I'd be like, well, let me just, you know, give the Commissioner of the Department of Labor a quick call on a cell phone, and I'll get an answer to that. And I did. I called, put him on speakerphone, and in 15 minutes we had an answer. And the legal counsel was just like, how'd you do that? And, you know, he was from New York. He's like, that would have taken us 3 months to do that we were able to do in 15 minutes, because we kind of have that unique form of government with that level of individual accountability that's very unique, very distinctive. And I think those things collectively kind of help promote that New Hampshire advantage that we have. So your point's a good one. We need to find a way to capture that audience, to educate that audience, and try to promote the state and the region as some of the economic opportunities. Because I think it's interesting. So some of the businesses that I've spoken with in this short window of time, from a job recruitment perspective, a lot of them are like, you know, some of these senior folks within the business are like, I remember, you know skiing at Cannon Mountain when I was a kid, or I remember going up to Cranmore, or I went to I went to camp on Lake Winnipesaukee when I was a child, or, you know, we used to camp in the White Mountains, or whatever it might be. But a lot of people remember and have that positive connectivity to the state based on some of their experiences and the natural resources that we have. And so then they want to try to come back. But we need to do a better job at accelerating that story and reintroducing that story about the opportunities from an economic development perspective.
I have a kind of a three-part question. And I have some concerns about the job training program and the skilled labor that we have here. So my question is, three parts. What is the budget for the job training? Secondly, how much of the budget goes into, of that budget goes into job training for manufacturing? How much of it goes in for other business? And what do we have available in the valley? Or is anybody taking part, any businesses taking part in the job training in the valley?
So the overall budget is $2 million. And about $1 million of that is dedicated directly to, so there's different variations within that $2 million budget, but $1 million of it goes right to job training within existing businesses. And then some of it goes to job training to help those people, that need the refresh of skills or certain skills that they need to enter back into the workforce. And so that's what the budget is. The breakdown, it's eligible to whomever applies. So I don't know what the exact percentage is that's manufacturing. I'd say the vast majority of it is manufacturing. But the reason why I wanted to make sure I brought that up this morning is I want to make sure that the businesses that are here know about it and hopefully get more businesses to participate in it. Not that we have a review board that reviews the applications on a monthly basis, and we dole out these grants on a monthly basis. And so, it's like many things, it's about, who applies, who has the opportunity to receive the money. But I want to make sure that people know about it. And so, so who is getting it? Like I said, I think it's 64 businesses in the last 5 years that are up in the northern parts of the top 3 counties within the state. I don't have it broken up as to where is it right in the Mount Washington Valley, but I have it basically by the top 3 counties. So, but I want to see more. I want to see more. So that's why I talk about it. So make sure you talk about it too. Yes.
Jeff, my name's Byron Kennett. I'm a commercial real estate broker, and I want to ask you to comment on how our employers here in the Valley, property owners, commercial primarily, at least my involvement, how we can use your department to assist business owners here in dealing with and promoting progress in other departments such as DES or DOT at the state level.
Yeah.
It's a very troubling issue for us, and I'm sure for all other regions of the state. But getting projects completed is getting more and more difficult in a timely manner, and we really need a voice for that type of development.
Yeah. So, Mr. Kennett, it's good to see you. Yes, it's a really, really good point. And I think, and I can't speak to what everything has been in the past. I can only speak to where I think things can go here in the future, because I have heard some of those challenges. One of the things that really helped convince me that that this was an exciting. Well, I knew it was going to be an exciting job. But one of the things I really was encouraged about this opportunity was how the commissioners all interact and work together. And there's been a commissioners group that's been formed. One of the other things that Governor Hassan did that I'm kind of the guinea pig going through is a commissioners orientation program where you get to sit down with all the different commissioners and learn about the different departments and some of the rules and rules of the road and some of the sort of real world experiences and such. So you develop a rapport and a relationship with the other commissioners. And we're actually right now working on a collective MOU amongst each other to try to find ways to make sure that we're working in the most cooperative spirit to try to make sure that we're streamlined as best possible. So if there is an issue that we have DES as a partner and wanting and willing to work with us right from the very beginning, or if there's an enforcement issue, we're working with Fish and Game in a very cooperative way, and having those relationships, I think at the senior levels within the agencies helps filter down throughout the agencies. That I think helps streamline things so you don't have a bottleneck in a process and that creates additional time and or cost to projects in a way that is counterproductive. So, you need to have, the structure and the system in place, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we're doing everything as possible to be as efficient and effective for those people who are trying to move forward with different projects, and economic development is certainly a key component of that. So if there's specific examples, I'm happy to talk about those a little bit more offline, but I do think there's a cooperative spirit amongst the various commissioners right now to try to help improve just what you're saying. And then I think he can try to help navigate through, but never hesitate to shoot me an email or a call as well. I'm happy to be of assistance and try to provide some grease if needed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Ted.
Commissioner, as you probably remember from your early involvement, when we wanted to start this incubator, all the research said you need to start with an education facility. And so we worked with Granite State to make this happen. So Granite State is committed for any business, as they've done for Echo Group and others, to perform whatever specialty training is needed and to do it in this facility. And now for my really important question, as a communications expert, what's it going to take for you to change the name of DREAD?
So, it's funny how often I hear that. So this is a true story. So I didn't really share when I was going through this whole experience with a lot of folks and such. But the day that the press release was going to be going out from the governor's office, I sent a text message to my father-in-law. And maybe not the most personal way, but it was like 7 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And so I just sent him a text and said, just wanted to give you a heads up, I'm going to change careers. I'm going to be nominated to, just a heads up, I'm going to change careers and serve as the new commissioner of DREAD. And so about 30 minutes later, my wife gets a panicked phone call from my father-in-law, and he thought that was code for I just got laid off from BAE Systems. So I'm not sure that it's the most uplifting. It sounds so dire, the commissioner of DREAD, So my daughter thinks it's really hysterical too. So I don't know. I'm gonna talk about that. It is. I don't know what it's one of those things. It's so bad it's good. I don't know, but it is an interesting one. I can envision different ways of trying to think of new opportunities. When I was leaving BAE Systems, some of my colleagues they were commenting on the same thing. Like, we should do something that's, more indicative of your personality, who you are, and stuff like that. So we're like, Bureau of Environment and Economic Resources. Beer. It's like, well, we'll roll it out on St. Patrick's Day. But so it's an interesting question. And it's something that it's worth having some conversation about. I don't necessarily know what the right outcome is, but I think it's worthy of having a conversation and getting a perspective, because again, that gets back to what I was referencing before. It's not necessarily about what we think within the agency, but as much as what other people think, and how that perception that then is generated by when you say I'm here from DREAD and I'm here to help. So, and then the other funny component to that is our economic development team is Department of Economic Development. Dead. Like, oh boy, nothing springs like new opportunity like dead. So we'll see. But it's an interesting comment, and we'll stand by and we'll see where and if things go anywhere. But I'm willing to have a conversation and hear different thoughts and ideas. So, but thank you again.
Thank you. We want to give you a small token of our appreciation. No debt or dread involved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay,
So, thank you.
thank you. Now Janice has the last word.
Yes. First of all, this is for your wall, so you won't
Oh.
forget Mount Washington.
I won't.
I have a little goodie bag here that's got all kinds of fun things. There's some round of golf at Province Lake. There's tickets to Santa's Village, and then there's just some sample things. So I'm going to ask a question. Who can list and give just a little tidbit of the 4 areas within the Economic Council and give me the 3 E's that Commissioner Rose said he's experiencing since he started? Anybody?
Yes, you said
You
4
want-
areas in economic council, you mean?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't want to say dread.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's
And the 3 E's.
All right, so the first one is Forest and Lands. It manages the state's forests, which are about 84% of the state's covered in forests. 66 of which is privately owned. That's the Parks and Recreation, where you have we have 92 state parks in the state. Economic Development, which looks at job retention, recruitment, and training, also workforce opportunities, and Travel and Tourism. Oh, I already said that one.
No, you
No, you
didn't.
didn't.
No,
You got it.
Okay, good.
You got the 4, now what are the 3 E's?
So I remember them as exciting, exhilarating, and exhaustion.
Yes.
Who says we don't have a skilled workforce?
You can tell she's a graduate student. I just wanted to make mention that our speaker for August, because we're going to do our normal summertime pattern of meeting once in the 2 months when everybody's busy working with our tourists, will be Jean Chandler, who's going to come and give us a legislative update, discuss the budget, and tell us where we'll be going as a state. So thank you, everybody, for coming.
And when is that one?
It's the first Thursday of August,
Okay, so no July.
no July. Okay, thank you for coming, and have a good summer.
My name is Bill Edmonds, and you're watching Valley Vision, Channel 3. And give these people some money, because they need it wicked bad.
polling place all day that day, saying I was running for election, people were very frustrated at the length of the ballot, and that affects them. So I would like to see a clearer explanation from this board and whomever, explaining specifically why these are where they are, why they are warrant articles, why they're not into the total budget.
I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And when we start reconstructing warrant articles, we can take them apart piece by piece and go through
Because
them.
I want to explain it to the public.
Yeah, we can do that. But that would be the appropriate time. When we start constructing the warrant articles, what we need, what we don't need.
And we've actually, if you've followed this board over the past, well, I've been here almost 6 years, we've actually cut back our articles quite a bit, like a lot. I think when I first came on board, there were close to 30, if not more, articles that were on our ballot. We think we got it down to 13 this year. And so the town had a very lengthy ballot, I know that. I think theirs was at least 3 pages, and then ours was, 1 page, 2-sided. So, but as much information as we can get out there for people to better understand what we're doing and help them to make the right decision, absolutely, we definitely want to do that. Mark?
I think the budget season, or the budget process is underway, at least in our thinking.
You got a fund balance of 100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way I'm looking at this is we have 15 million or so in district assessment.